Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got another welder to review here. It's the Firstess CT2050 7-in-1 welder from YesWelder. Now this machine does AC TIG, DC TIG, AC pulse TIG, DC pulse TIG, plasma cutting, stick welding, and with the stick welding it does DC electrode positive and DC electrode negative. Now what makes this machine different from the others is that it has its own built-in compressor when you do plasma cutting. So you don't need to haul around a compressor in order to cut some steel with it. And here it is up close. It does run on 220 volts and 110 volts, and you'll get this adapter. You will also get a kit here for the TIG torch, some consumables. And here's the TIG torch. It does feel of good quality, by the way. Here's the plasma torch right here. The foot pedal comes separately, so if you do need the foot pedal, you can order that separately, but I believe you can TIG weld with this machine without the foot pedal. And here's the stinger for the stick welding. It does actually feel of good quality. And look at the ground clamp that comes with this. This is like super solid, guys. And I must say that the cables on this machine also feel of good quality. You can tell that it's quite a few notches up from some of the cheaper machines. You'll also get your hose to go from your gas tank to the welder. You'll get a relay of some sort here, so just hold on to that. It must be for the inside of the machine. Some plumbing tape and some fittings for the little hoses at the back. And also your manuals. And in this manual there is a connection diagram of this machine. You want to keep this handy because it tells you where to connect all the connectors in the machine for the different processes of welding. It's a full electronic panel here, 7-in-1 multi-function welder and cutting. And if we go in the rear, you'll see a nice big fan. You will see the small regulator that comes with it. I've already installed it. This is how I installed it. And you will get a bag with some hose in it. And what you do is you kind of snip the lines and install them this way. If you want to remove the lines, you just basically push down on the small grommet here and the line pops out. Make sure there's no kinks in your line, and also on this one here. And this connector here is for your argon gas for TIG welding. And if your air filter gets water in it, you can just release it. So that's a good addition here as well. And here's the front. You've got some ports. Here's a positive connector. And here's the connector from the TIG torch that you can put here. Your argon gas will come in the back and come out the front and right to your torch. Now, if you need a helmet for welding, YesWelder does have a nice auto darkening helmet. This is a super nice one. Now, if you end up needing solid MIG wire for your other welders, YesWelder has a super awesome price on this stuff, and you can buy it on Amazon. I will have all the links to all the products you see here in the video description. So make sure to check that out, and also go check out their website, YesWelder. The link is in the description as well. So what I'm going to do here now is get right into some welding. I'm going to start with some stick welding. And for DC electrode positive, you will want the connector from the stinger to be in this port here and the ground clamp in this port right over here. Now you might be wondering what would be the difference in welding if you switch these out for DCEP, DCEN. Well, what I keep coming up with the research I've done is if you have your electrode, which would be the stinger here, plugged into the negative port, which would be DCEN, apparently that is better if you weld thinner metal. And if you switch it around, then you're better off with thicker metal. So I'm going to be testing this on some thinner metal and some thicker metal. All right, I'll be running the machine on 220 today. However, if you do run it on 110, you probably won't be able to crank up the amps as high. And the on-off switch is in the rear of this machine. And here's where you select your welding process. You just toggle through here. So I'm going to go to stick. You can set your arc force, not exactly what all that means, but here's your amp setting. I'm in the arc force now, so I'll push here. I'll actually the arc force around 15, and now you're at the amps. So I'm going to start at around 80 amps, and I'm going to weld this metal here. It's not that thick, I think it's only about 1/8. Then I've got 1/4 inch and 5/16, and we'll see how that goes. The rods I'll be using today are 3/32, 70/18. Okay, here's some of the welds I did, and the slag looks like it will come off quite easy. A bit hard to get off on that one. And here's some other welds I did here. That came off easy. So overall, this machine does stick welding really well. It does take practice. Again, you got to get used to the machine's own characteristics. This here was mostly done on DC electrode positive. So here's the hookup for DC EP, DC electrode positive. The black connector here actually goes to the stinger, and the one with the red cap here goes to the ground clamp. I thought it was the opposite, but this is how it is. And again, refer to the manual for proper connections. All right, the next thing I'm going to do here is weld these two small thin pieces of metal, and I'll be using DC TIG for this. So you can toggle through here, set it to DC TIG. AC TIG is for aluminum. All right, so I'm going to set the amps at around 50, and I'll leave everything else the way it is. And I do have the foot pedal set up to do this welding. Okay, here's the first piece I did here. It's not totally straight. Again, I'm not a professional welder, and I did a second piece over here just quickly, and I've got good penetration. So this would simulate welding a snowblower body housing or a lawnmower. Much easier to do steel welding with the TIG than to weld aluminum. Alright, so I've got the machine set up for plasma cutting here. Here's the setup for that. You must have your ground clamp into this port. Then you'll have this connector from the torch. It goes right in here. There'll be a small red wire, and then you've got this plug-in that goes in right there. And to start off with, I'll be running it on 110 volts, and I'll fire up the machine. And here they'll tell you that it is running on 110 or 120. The maximum amperage for this is 25 amps. You can get more on the 220, and I'll do that later. And what I'll do is leave my ground clamp on my metal table here like this. And what I'll be cutting here is some 3/16 and 1/8 metal on the 110 volts. And I've got it set at 25 amps. You can go in and set all your pre-gas, start, etc., and your post-flow gas, which is your air. And I've got it set on cut compressor, which will use the compressor built into the machine. If you want to hook up your own compressor, you just bring it up to here, hook up your compressor on the back, and you're good to go. So I put it back here. Now for the settings, if you push the amp button here, it will take you down to all the other settings. Pre-gas, I'll leave at 1 second. Start at 12, slope up 0, slow down 0, stop 12, post-gas, flow 3. So that's the air that's going to flow once you're done cutting. And you can see it's got a really nice torch. It even has like a kind of like a ball at the end here, so the cable can move freely. You do have a safety for the trigger, and the torch does feel very nice in your hands. Now these two settings over here, what they mean is the 2T, you have to continually hold down the trigger for the torch to make a flame and cut the steel. If you have it on 4T, once you just click it, the flame will come on, and it will only come off once you hit the trigger again. I prefer it in 2T because I find I have better control that way, but if you were cutting all day long, you might want to leave it in 4T so that you don't have to continually press the trigger. Anyway guys, in conclusion, I have to say I am impressed with this machine. The plasma cutter works awesome, and what I really like is the built-in compressor at the back. You don't need to have a compressor with you. This is all built into one, less hassle, and by having the compressor built in, it does make it easier if you have remote jobs to do. And the helmet here works awesome as well. It's really responsive with the auto darkening, so if you're wondering if the helmet's good, it is good because I used it for this entire video. And the machine does the stick welding really well, and I like the different options with the stick welding as well. And also the TIG works good. Now, I need more practice with TIG welding. I'm not a professional welder, but I can get by with it. But overall, this is an awesome machine, guys, and I do recommend it. And if you want the full specs on this machine, click on the link in the description. It'll take you to the website of YesWelder. So great machine, Firstess CT2050 by YesWelder. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day.